they would be okay. At least like the person. Now their property, maybe not, but the person, and hopefully they are doing okay because they actually listen and prepare.
Yeah, and people have been watching WFLA News Channel 8 to get the very latest. There have been people who lost power, and then joined our live stream as well because they didn't have power to turn on their televisions. So it's just really important to stay aware here in Florida around the time of a hurricane. People know this, just to stay up to date with their local officials, emergency officials. That can be an enormous difference.
And stay up to date here. I actually, my uncle lost power up in Tallahassee. My godparents lost power in Tallahassee. I had a couple cousins who lost power. And I sent them the WFLA Now link. And that's how they stayed informed and aware and just checking in. So platforms like this and being able to have it at the palm of your hand, it's essential. Because if you're still able to at least have a little bit of service, maybe the Wi-Fi's down, but maybe your service is still working a little bit and you're able to kind of get some of these streams, it's a great way to stay informed, especially during a storm. And great job. They loved you.
Oh,
JB.
Well, Dan, I'm sure that everyone loves you and Avery and Chris and Lee and Amanda. You guys do an incredible job. Beth and
we have Beth, Chloe, Trevor,
the whole
Melissa.
morning squad, A squad, B squad, right? Or blue or red?
We were red squad all the way.
Red squad, the red team at WFLA, really doing a phenomenal job. Deanne, I promised we'd get you out of here by 11:30, yes. Or I think it was even earlier than that. I appreciate you stopping in, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Give Deanne in our comment section a big clapping emoji or a thumbs up.
I can't even see our comment section. They've been talking about me?
Yeah, go check out the comment section on YouTube Live.
Oh, okay, let me go look.
Go
Before
check it
I
out.
leave, let me see if I need to talk to somebody on here.
Welcome to...
Most people who watch me, they know I'll call you out.
Welcome to Hudson, Florida, everybody. So now we're getting to some of the areas that we were having live reports from yesterday. And Eagle is moving into some of the areas now in Hudson that saw. And look, you can see a little bit here. We've been monitoring some of the boats that are, you could see that clearly are at a position that aren't tied to their, or got, detached from their dock. We saw a little bit of that a moment ago. And so Eagle is, we're following Eagle's progress here, but they're moving over Hudson. But here's what I really wanted to emphasize for a moment. People think about Florida's Gulf Coast and they think about the picturesque beaches, but also at the same time, there's a lot of marshy areas of Florida's Gulf Coast, especially up towards the Big Bend, where we're getting closer to right now. And so this isn't that Margaritaville beach paradise that people are used to seeing when you look at Miami or Clearwater or other sections of Southwest Florida. We're going to see some of Florida's marshy coast areas, and we're starting to see that here on this live stream.
Yes, we are. Well, hello to everyone who has said, hey, hashtag, hey, Deanne. Hello to you all. I saw someone, Sean Robinson, a fellow Tallahassee native. A lot of their family lost power as well. JB, I think the worst thing you could have told me was to open these comments. Because what is going on in here?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
What?
Welcome to streaming, Deanne.
People. Yeah, JB, this has to be your job, because there is no way. There's no way.
These are my friends. Welcome to my...
Some. Some are your friends. Some haters.
They keep it real with us, or at least
no.
They try to. Hey, well, I'll tell you what. You probably don't know this.
Okay.
We do have moderators on YouTube Live.
Oh, cool.
Yes, that volunteer their time because they watch our stream so much, and I've had conversations with them, and they are we've chatted back and forth digitally.
That is awesome.
And they volunteered their time to help keep our comment section clean and respectful. And so they do a really great job.
Well, we love them. Those, JB, those are your friends. Them, yes. Team Brittany.
Yes. Team Brittany is one of them.
One of our moderators. Hey, I was like, oh, because her name looks a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we love that. Well, thank y'all. Thank you, JB, for having me.
Appreciate it.
Fun.
We'll hit the applause button for Deanne.
Oh, thank you. Wait, I didn't hit it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks so much for stopping in.
Thanks for having me. Y'all stay safe out there.
Deanne King,
Wait,
everybody.
They can see my flats.
Yeah. That's called slider cam. Deanne King, everybody, who was nice enough to come on in and join us for our streaming coverage. Let's go back to Eagle 8 HD. That's what you're here for. And show you some of the areas now that we are currently flying over, and I'll get you an updated location with Eagle. This is Hernando Beach. And this community, we're right next to the Weeki Wachee Preserve. So there's some of the, the marshy area that we were talking about. Now we're talking about, or we're looking at a roadway here. I will try to, that I believe it's Shoal Line Boulevard, 597. So Eagle's booking it. Eagle is moving fast. This community now, this is Weeki Wachee Gardens. And now we're pointing to Alfred A. McKeithen Pine Island Park. Let me point out something here, folks. I would like to take an opportunity to share. Our audience knows that I'm always keeping it. I keep it real with you guys. I'm always trying to let everybody know what, I try to just stay, of course, fact-based and try to keep it as real with you as possible. What we are seeing so far is not all that bad in relation to Florida's Gulf Coast. There has been, of course, some pretty bad storm surge. We've seen the pictures. We have seen some of the videos that have been coming out, and some of the communities hit harder than most. Eagle is is doing a flyover of the coast, and so far it hasn't seen anything catastrophic. This is for a couple of reasons. One, we haven't hit the hardest hit areas yet, and two, we are flying over this after the storm waters had a chance to recede, and also two, we're not hovering over certain areas or going to certain neighborhoods where we heard some of the worst damage and some of the worst flooding. We're basically beelining it right now for Cedar Key. And we're getting closer to Cedar Key. So if I zoom out here and I give everybody, we're about halfway there. Yeah, 50% of our journey is complete. And right now we're over Weeki Wachee. Approaching Homosassa. And then Crystal River might have some significant damage. But what's everybody else out there seeing? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be playing or paying close attention. Saying hello to Courtney, to Frank, to Sharon, Stephanie, Cheryl. It was a bit humorous hearing Deanne learn about YouTube comments for the first time and about YouTube Live, because of course there's always it's gonna be a mix of comments on our YouTube Live comment section. You're gonna have the people that are gonna participate with us interactively. You're gonna have people that are gonna go off on tangents. That's live streaming, and I'm used to it. But then you have Deanne, who comes in from broadcast television, and she sees a little bit of the scrolling YouTube Live comment section and gets a better idea as to what a comment section could look like. I think you guys are pretty well behaved today. I'm not seeing too much bad behavior out there. All right, so Jim is zooming in here. He's really increased his zoom. And this is, try to get an idea. There's one of the coastal power plants, and that is a point of reference I can use to give everybody an idea as to what we're looking at. But wow, Eagle's making great time, great progress. Really is. We didn't know, and I think part of the reason for that is because Eagle was going to stop and circle over certain areas that really showed obvious signs of catastrophic storm surge, and we just haven't seen, those really bad areas just yet. Also, too, everything is relative, right? We had an Eagle stream last year after our Hurricane Ian coverage. We went down, we showed everybody Fort Myers, Naples, Southwest Florida. That video was some of the most chilling video I've ever seen from the air after a hurricane, because of just really the boats were, and some of the leveled neighborhoods. I say leveled neighborhoods, I mean just some homes were just flooded out. Just tons of water, penetrating all of these neighborhoods. And the boats piled up on one another by Mother Nature. And that was video that made me sit back in my seat and I go, my goodness, I've never seen anything like that. So far here, we haven't gotten to that point where we have seen that level of destruction. But again, we haven't reached the impact area. We keep talking about Cedar Key, but Cedar Key was a couple dozen miles east of where landfall occurred in Keaton Beach. So bring up here. There's Cedar Key. We're getting closer to Cedar Key. Keaton Beach. It's hard to find on the map. It really is. There's the Swanee River. Horseshoe Beach. Being told that we're going to be joined by meteorologist Amanda Hawley in about 15 minutes. Here's Keaton Beach. And I'm looking at a map, folks. I'm not saying that this eagle is over Keaton Beach. Apologies. Let's give you an updated location for where Eagle is right now. Sometimes Jim will zoom in on water towers and give us a locator. And they're just like that. Ozello. This is Ozello, Florida, and up next is Crystal River, a very popular area for people to go tubing, boating, just having fun. In general, Crystal River is considered to be a really fun spot. Here you can see what appears to be an area that was hit by storm surge, at least. And it's difficult to say just how much based on any storm waters receding, but this is again Ozello, Florida. You can see power crews working there to restore power. How about a shout out for all the linemen out there? Right there. They're there on your screen, folks. And we have heard Jeff Patterson is up in Cedar Key, and he is reporting that a lot of Cedar Key has already had their power restored. Lights are coming back on there. And, you know, the power crews still have a good amount of work to do to get everybody back up and running. But the response has been swift so far in many neighborhoods. And look, if you're in one of those neighborhoods where you're still waiting for your power to get turned back on, it's probably very frustrating for a news guy like me to be telling you that, you know, the response has been swift. But overall, there's been reports of power crews moving very, very quickly and getting things back up and running in certain spots. So Jim is circling. He has now made a big circle over Ozello Trail. This is an area, as we understand it, experienced significant storm surge. Here we have some folks working in a garage. I don't know if are those power crews? Looks like it, or no. And you can see that a lot of this is going to be folks that are perhaps just getting back into town, looking at their homes for the first time see this family or the occupants of this home, they are, what it would appear to be, is going through that garage unit and getting things out, surveying damage. Because they're right on the water. And this is an inlet connected to the Gulf of Mexico. So we're talking, of course, about the potential for there being significant storm surge. So I wish I could point to a neighborhood and tell you exactly how much storm surge they experienced. That is something Amanda Holly will at least be able to help estimate when she's up here in a little bit. But this is no doubt an area, again, Ozello Trail, that got hit by storm surge. Water's receding, of course, but there you can see boat ramp to the inlet. Try to punch up some audio here. You might be able to hear from Jim in a little bit, actually. We are on broadcast television right now in the midday newscast, 11 a.m. newscast here at News Channel 8. So Jim is working with our team in our control room to provide the shots that they need. But once the clock turns over to noon Eastern, you can see it in the bottom right-hand portion of your screen. So in about 4 minutes or so, they'll be able to flip the switch, and we might be able to communicate with Jim. Jim is our photojournalist in Eagle 8 HD. And in all seriousness, one of my good buds here at WFLA. Tail cam's up, which means Jim is moving to
Eagle to base, be advised, we're going to get fuel.
Apologies if that came in kind of loud. Okay. And being told now, of course, by Eagle and by our news team here, WFLA, that Eagle is going to land for fuel here momentarily. We'll follow them in. So, and people are asking, where does Eagle get fuel? Actually, I don't. And it's because we're outside the coverage area, you know. So we know the fuel spots in Tampa Bay. But the pilot, and I don't know if this is Mickey or who it might be, but today, I don't have a... Actually, I might be able to get you a pilot name. Shout out the pilot for Eagle today. I don't have a pilot name. But the pilots are, of course, aware of all the various spots where they can land, and really in the entire state, various spots where they can land, fuel. I can follow them on the map and tell you kind of where they're heading. There might an airstrip nearby or a small airfield. Looking here on the map. So Eagle made it about 75% of the way, maybe 80% of the way to Cedar Key. And then had to stop for fuel. And they might go beyond Cedar Key, and they might go up into Swanee, because the Swanee River, of course, goes all the way up towards, if you follow the Swanee River, it goes all the way to, goes pretty far inland through Brantford. So Eagle is absolutely going to make it to Cedar Key, Swanee, and then if you go west from there, if we can continue to have a strong signal with our range, maybe, just maybe, we make it to Keaton Beach, which would be the landfall location. So as we follow Eagle 8HD in for fuel, how's everybody doing out there? Hopefully everybody's doing okay. JB Buno here with you in the Stream Center. Sorry that I am not super attentive to the commentary here today. Trying my very best to juggle a lot with following Eagle's progress, bringing in people. First day internship over here as well. Oh, okay, so look, Eagle's about to land. Where are they landing? Where is Eagle going? They didn't have to go very far at all. Here it is. Wow. Definitely part of the plan. No doubt for the pilot. They are going to Crystal River / Captain Tom Davis Field Airport. It's a small airfield right here, and I think they might have just powered down. That's why it's frozen. No, we just lost signal. At this range from our receiver in Tampa, the lower the elevation, the more difficult it is to maintain signal. So as Eagle was coming into land, the signal cut out. It's a line of sight thing. So it's got to be basically, there's a transmitter on Eagle that fires the signal back to the Tampa Bay area. And as we get farther away from the viewing area, and as Eagle gets lower, it becomes exponentially more difficult to maintain a signal. So when Eagle goes farther away from the coverage area, they can increase elevation to increase signal strength. Just a little bit of inside baseball here, but that's kind of how this works. I only know because I spend a lot of time with our engineers and they explain this stuff to me. As far as how a microwave signal goes from one place to another. So yes, can confirm that Eagle has landed, and they are getting ready, of course, for the second part of their journey, which will be the one where they go to the areas hit hardest by Hurricane Idalia. All right, so to the comment section. Cloud Castles wants to know how long is the refueling process. I think Eagle is usually can refuel, landing, refueling, bathroom break, get a bottle of water or something, all that stuff. Probably you're back up in the air. It can range somewhere in the area of 20 to 30 minutes if they're moving pretty quickly. Yeah, Lori was right on it in her comment section. There's an airport, Crystal River, Tom Davis Field. Right on it. Pat33 wants to know, #AJB, will we still be able to see Crystal River damage? I believe that we moved past Crystal River. But here's the thing. Eagle 8 HD right now is really trying to make it to the hardest hit areas as quickly as possible. They were moving really fast. However, there's a really good chance that on the way back, they're going to hit some of the areas that they didn't hit on the way up. Does that make sense? They've kind of zigzagged a bit. But I think really they're in the Crystal River area right now. So as Jim goes back up in Eagle with our Eagle 8 HD pilot, they might be able to survey Crystal River a little bit more as well. Susan says, #AJB, smart to get fuel before entering the devastation area. Fuel may not be available there. It's totally true. Resources, you don't know what the resources are like in the areas hardest, but a pilot, of course, is going to check ahead of time to make sure that they can refuel in a various spot. This is all done and planned out ahead of time. So it's a two-person squad in Eagle. We have Jim Hockett, our photojournalist. He's in charge of not just shooting the video, but transmitting and recording video locally on the aircraft. And then as well, you have the pilot, who's in charge, of course, of navigating that aircraft, doing so safely, communicating with other aircraft in the area, especially in the aftermath of a landfall event. There could be other news choppers in the area, so just keeping your head on a swivel, of course, and making sure that you're mindful of other air traffic. And then, of course, having a flight plan and knowing where your fuel options are, because these flights can take twists and turns. Sometimes you'll get a call and you'll hear of an area and you want to go in this direction, and you would deviate a bit from the overall, maybe an initial flight plan of you're going to go to this spot and come back. There are times when Eagle is up in the air and there's breaking news that occurs and they have to go to a different area of the coverage area completely spontaneously, and of course the pilot has to accommodate for the operation, and so the flight plan gets adjusted. So all of these things are taken into consideration, and a lot goes into, of course, our Eagle 8 HD operation. We're one of the few stations in Florida that has its own helicopter, where we don't have to share, of course, helicopter resources with any other media agency. So a lot goes into it, and everyone involved deserves tremendous credit, because it's able to then get fed back to us and then live streamed here on WFLA now for all of you to be able to see. Yeah, Judy Joby says Eagle 8 HD is right here. Let me just bring up the interactive widget so that I can just pop up comments with #AJB. So starting now, if you use #AJB, I can just pop up your comments. So there's Judy, for example. Hey JB, Eagle 8 HD is right at the beginning of Crystal River. Yep. So right when Eagle goes up, we might be able to see some of the areas hit by Adalia in Crystal River. Tempe wants to know, #KJB, does WFLA have a drone also? Yes, and I used to be a certified WFLA Drone 8 pilot. I used to fly drones for WFLA way back when, years ago. Had my certification through the FAA, and I very much enjoyed it, and then I started doing live streaming work, so my job pivoted. Yes, but drones and helicopters are completely different in my view. A drone is short range, maxing out usually at a height of 400 feet, and to a drone and its UAV operator have to be close. Obviously, a helicopter you can get up to thousands of feet in the air, cover a lot of distance in a short amount of time. But we do have this drone video from Tampa yesterday. I'm glad that you asked. Because this is Jim Hockett shot this drone video. He's the same photographer who is in Eagle 8 HD for us today. And this is Tampa's Bay Shore Boulevard, one of the most iconic spots in all of Tampa. It's the strip right on Tampa Bay. And beautiful homes and neighborhoods right along Bayshore Boulevard, South Tampa. And this is what it looked like yesterday. I'll put away the comment here for a second so you guys can see, and we'll go full screen so you guys can see here as well. This was Bayshore Boulevard from Drone 8. And you can see there's the usually where the waters come up to that white seawall there. And that is usually where the edge of Tampa Bay is, but not in this case. It went over the walls, the storm surge, going far beyond the walls into the neighborhoods, and several feet of storm surge penetrating South Tampa. So this was yesterday. I want to make sure that I emphasize that. There is no timestamp on the video. If you use hashtag AJB, I can spotlight your comment, your question on screen. T-Wee, are we going to see Anna Maria Island? I want to just see if we, if we're going to make it to Anna Maria. We did not go south towards Bradenton Beach, Anna Maria Island, Longboat Key. We didn't make it down there, and I don't think that we're going to on this flight, no. So the answer to that is no. Shout out to Rebecca Barry, who just walked in. Stephanie wants to know, can you see Taylor County? I mean, that's pretty much the direction that we're heading, Stephanie. Now, are we going to make it all the way there? Not sure. Will our signal reach there? I'm not sure. Our helicopter has to maintain a line of sight signal with Tampa Bay. It's think about a like a big line of string, right? That string has to be able to reach from the helicopter to our receivers in Tampa Bay. And so if the curvature of the Earth, or if really anything gets in the line's path that interrupts the signal goes out. So because of the curvature of the Earth, because, of course, of microwave technology and the limitations that it possesses, we're not sure if we're going to make it all the way. I think we're going to Stephanie, into Taylor County. I think we might. I think we'll get to the Swanee River, and I think we might get close to southern Taylor County, but we're going to find out. And I don't know if that's part of the flight plan at this moment. Dark wants to know, hashtag HJB, I've been hearing talk about Tampa being due for a storm. What are your thoughts? Look, no place ever deserves a hurricane or should be due for a storm, and just because other areas, look, people are saying that Tampa, this narrative might exist online. I can't say with certainty that it does, but if it were to exist online, it's just because Tampa's got extremely lucky. But we're doing a lot of research with Columbia University. Jeff Baradelli talked about it on stream yesterday, about how we're doing a lot of research as to exactly why Tampa has been so fortunate. Because Tampa does continue to get lucky. And yes, there are going to be people that are going to say, oh, Tampa's due. But we're talking about a storm that could have caused catastrophic storm surge well beyond what you're seeing here on your screen in Tampa, a densely populated area, versus where Idalia made landfall, which is a much more sparsely populated area. And I believe me, I do not want to be somebody in Keaton Beach or Cedar Key and those communities. My goodness, I feel, please let me pass along my thoughts and prayers you don't want to be in the area hit hardest ever. But Tampa Bay has gotten very, very lucky, and in this case did get lucky for the second year in a row. Last year with Ian, this time with Idalia. And last year a more well-populated area got hit. This year it was a more rural area between really in Florida's Big Bend. But to say that Tampa's due for a storm, no one's ever due for a storm. That's not, I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way. Is Eagle 8HD going to fly over Brooksville later on, going to Hernando County now? You know, maybe. Who's the commenter there? Lil Patty? Maybe. Because when we double back, if we may 50-50, I don't know yet. I don't know if it's part of Eagle's flight plan. I mean, when they come back down, are they going to go that far inland? I know that people in Brooksville did get hit, but I don't know. If you're just joining us, folks, on Tracking the Tropics, Eagle 8HD is refueling, and we'll be back up in the air probably in the next 15 or so minutes. Let's go to Allison's comment. Where is it? Allison says, #KJB, I've been watching you from South Florida since Sunday night. Thank you so much for all the live streams. A hurricane sucks, no matter who or where it hits. Couldn't agree more, Allison. Thank you for the kind words, but I couldn't agree more. You never want, an area being due is just not the way to look at it. Hurricanes are spontaneous, and there is, of course, science with their movement, and that's why our meteorologists are able to predict their patterns and how they're able to form and where they're going to go, and quite literally look into the crystal ball into the future and tell us where they're going to go next. But there was a 3 or 4 year stretch where Louisiana just got battered by storm after storm after storm. And that's not just because of any other reason, just other than just really just bad luck. I mean, these storms look, there are development patterns and development zones. Rebecca Barry, Amanda Holly, they talk about it on almost every show with Tracking the Tropics. And there are regions, channels, if you will. We have that great graphic that shows us how month to month there are certain development zones, and there is a bit of a pattern as to where storms form. But as far as a storm with Hurricane Idalia's significance, a lot of it, not all of it, there's so much science involved, but a lot of it can just come down to the coincidence of where that storm is going to go, and the weather pattern that exists at the time, and phenomenon that exists at the time, like El Nino, and of course like warm sea surface temperatures. They explain it way better than I do, but there is a combination of the coincidence element and of course the scientific element that comes into play when you're talking about places that do and don't get hit by a hurricane. Some of the biggest hurricanes that we have seen in years past you've never heard of. Why? Because they stay out at sea in the Atlantic. You would never know their name because we don't talk about them all that much. Franklin's an example. Franklin's a Cat 4 or was a Cat 4. And Franklin will never really be in the history books all that much. Why? Because it just didn't impact land, and it wasn't a storm of consequence for us here in our section of the world. It didn't impact civilization. Now I know that Bermuda, I think, saw some impacts, but they're way out in the Atlantic Ocean, and they see impacts from storms that don't hit the United States all the time. Wow, that's a really great question, Paul. Did all the storm abatement installations near the Sunshine Skyway Bridge work as planned? I'll pass this along to our team and see if we can get some answers for you. Linda says, I've been watching your broadcast online from Massachusetts. We've been hit a few times. Bob got us, and we had no power for 2 weeks. Sorry, it's been a long week of streaming. But, well, thank you for watching, Linda, and all the best to you. Keeping an eye here on when Eagle's going to get back up in the air. Again, I've activated the queue so that the only comments that I see are with hashtag HeyJB. Thank you for your comment there, Linda. Hope you're well. What else we got? I'll just throw up the signal or this comment from Infected Signal and just say no updates because I'm here with you guys. Sea Sprite, hashtag HAB. Storm surge could have been worse here in Tampa Bay region, and it has been living here since the 70s. Hurricane Elena in 85, and no-name storm in March of 93, much worse. Wow. I'm gonna look up Hurricane Elena. Thanks for sharing, Sea Sprite. That's, yeah, I want to see its path. So Elena, wow, Elena's path in 85 was interesting. Are you familiar with Hurricane Elena? We're waiting for Eagle to refuel, so good opportunity for us to look at a very interesting path. I don't know if I can bring it up on screen, but everybody, meteorologist Amanda Holly, hit the applause button for all her incredible work this week.
Hello, hello.
Keeping people safe on WFLA News Channel 8. And of course, she is really alongside Rebecca Barry, the host or co-host of Tracking the Tropics. And hopefully we get a cameo from Rebecca at some point today. They're the engine that makes the show go. I'm just here pressing the buttons when they have to do work on broadcast television. And yeah, check out. So this is the comment from Sea Sprite talking about Elena in 85. And I just was curious about what that path looked like. And that was a path that aimed.
So yeah, it is. I mean, it is a little similar of a path, right? But it didn't develop in the same location. So that is a little bit different. And it was a lot farther off of the Tampa Bay coastline for a long time, and then kind of moved closer to shore, and then jutted right back out into the Gulf. It's a very interesting path for sure.
Yeah, it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like it did slow down when it made that curve and then doubled.
Yes.
It wobbled all the way east, and then it wobbled all the way west on its main track towards. That's a storm that impacted Florida, and then boom, beelined it for Louisiana with impacts on shore in Mobile Bay. Wow, interesting storm.
Yeah, it almost looks like, just glancing at the path here, I'm not familiar with the storm itself, but looks like it was being steered by some upper atmospheric pattern. Those patterns must have collapsed, and then something else developed and pushed it literally in the opposite direction.
Let's see. hashtag HeyJB or hashtag HeyAmanda, we can now introduce into the conversation. If you want to interact with us, use either of those two hashtags, and we'll spotlight your comment as we wait for Eagle 8 HD to refuel in Crystal River, Florida.
You know, that no-name storm, JB, has come up a lot with our Idalia coverage because it did have such a high storm surge along our coast, even though it really wasn't a tropical system. Just goes to show the power of winds, no matter the time of the year, what it can do to the water. It's literally pushing the water up along our coastline, and that storm surge was some of the highest that we've ever seen with that no-name storm, as well as Ada a few years ago.
Ada. That was 2020, right? Wasn't that the year that we just went into the Greek alphabet deeper than we've ever gone before? 30 named storms, I think. Yeah. Sarah wants to know, what does the local beach erosion look like, if any? Beach erosion is certainly going to be part of the equation here, no doubt, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, you know, we were just talking about it on broadcast. The sand dunes in a lot of locations are going to be kind of either not there, depending on the actual location, depending on how high that water actually got. So beach erosion, certainly an issue. The one thing that we have going for us along our coastline with the beach erosion is that the storm wasn't on our coastline for very long. So those pounding waves up along the coastline didn't have a lot of time to do damage. They certainly were large, and we're seeing some of that beach erosion a little bit, but it's not like a storm like, I think it was Debbie, maybe back in 2014. It was definitely the D storm. It sat off of our coastline for 4 days, and we saw a lot of beach erosion with that storm because of the prolonged period of the storm surge.
We love our beaches.
Yeah, we do.
Mother Nature, leave them alone. We also love our homes. We love our pets. We love our families. So a hurricane season that just took a break and pushed everything out into the Atlantic would sure be nice. All right, other hashtag HeyJB or hashtag HeyAmanda comments or questions. I'll just ask this to both of us. Do we get any rest?
We sleep when we can.
We sleep when we can. I think that's probably the best way to answer that question. Stephanie says, I think it's important to note that Fort Myers was well outside the cone. We barely got 15-mile-per-hour winds, and downtown Fort Myers is flooded, and the streets are closed along the river. We got anything on that?
It just doesn't. I have seen a couple pictures on social media with some of that flooding in downtown Fort Myers. A little bit of storm surge there. Obviously nothing like what we saw with Ian last year. But again, it just doesn't take much to produce that storm surge. Those winds, for any prolonged period of time on shore, you know, it's going to push that water up along the coastline.
Everyone, Rebecca Barry.
Woo-hoo!
These, true story, this is a secret that I'll share. These are like two of my favorite people in this building. So this is, welcome, this is the family right here.
It's the Stream Squad.
Yeah, this is, we're now, I'm in the company of good people now. And look, you watch, you know what just happened? Right as Rebecca sat down, check it out.
Eagle's coming back up, isn't it?
Oh, I hit the touch screen and I hit the wrong button. There it is.
Yay!
Eagle is back in the air over Crystal River. Rebecca, how are you?
I'm great. I felt like a zombie yesterday, and I only feel run down today. So that's I'm giving myself the most improved award. Yesterday, Bayshore Boulevard got the most improved award. Today, it's me.
I love it. Love to hear it. And how is Bayshore?
I drove it. There's still a lot of debris, and I do think that we'll still have a little bit of water intrusion at times of high tide. Mm-hmm. But we see that often.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the full supermoon, right? Yeah. And it is so again, a supermoon, the closest to the Earth all year long. And this supermoon, we're in the middle of 4 supermoons in a row. But this particular supermoon is the closest one. So it affects our tides the most out of any of the moons. So we're still seeing about a half a foot to a foot above what we would typically see with those tides, but not anything like what you're seeing on your screen.
No.
Really quickly, you guys, this is the Drone 8 video that we were just showing from from Tampa, from Bayshore Boulevard, which Rebecca was just referencing. But really quickly, I just want to try a comms check with Eagle and see if Eagle 8 HD can hear me. Jim Hockett checking in. Stream Center to Eagle, you got me? There's a switch that we have to flip in a room that way. I'm just going to mute myself for just a sec. I'm going to mute all mics. Just give us a second, everybody. I want to see if I can communicate with Eagle. Hold on. Okay, mic's back up. And we're going to attempt again. Let's see if we can communicate with Eagle 8 HD. Jim Hockett?
Hey, go ahead, JB.
Jim, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
We're good. We're good. Your location now is at Crystal River?
Yeah. Well, we just left Crystal River Airport. We're getting ready to fly past the power plant up here. We're heading north toward Cedar Key.
And the plan is to go to Cedar Key. Are you going to try to go north of Cedar Key, or are you just kind of figuring it out as you go?
That is above my pay grade. I will do whatever they tell me to do.
Some people were asking about some of the areas even west of Cedar Key, and I explained to them that it all comes down to signal and what we can maintain. Jim, I'm going to leave your channel open on audio. So if you ever want to pop in and you're on with Amanda and Rebecca, and I'm just going to confirm, Amanda and Rebecca, you can hear Jim, correct?
Yes.
Well,
And
just through that, but yes.
Yeah, and Jim and can you hear Amanda and Rebecca? Guys, say hello.
Yep,
Hello,
I hear
hello,
everybody
hello.
great. Hey, guys, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, hopefully the signal will hold out for us. There was some concern about that being so far north that we wouldn't be able to get a signal, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully you guys will be able to see us when we get up that far.
Jim, before I know that you're going to turn the camera around and start showing us your journey, but before you do that, why don't you just give us a quick recap, just some of the things that you noted on the first leg of your journey as you started down in St. Pete Beach, moved your way all the way up through Hudson and to Crystal River. What were some of the things that you were noticing from Eagle?
Well, you know, compared to last year when we flew down to Fort Myers Beach area after Ian, it was night and day. I mean, when we flew down there, the damage and the destruction was obvious from the moment we got there. It was not hard to find any damage. Whereas this time, because it was a water event and not a wind event, most of the damage is internal, you know, because of flooding. People are going to see damage inside of their homes. You're not seeing a lot of damage outside. You're not seeing, destroyed buildings. You're not seeing flat neighborhoods like we saw down in Fort Myers. So from the air, right now, today, at first glance, it might look normal. Traffic's moving normal. There's no flooded streets. The water is high. The tides are high. The water on the coastline is almost up to the buildings. Not much of a beach right now. Water in canals is pretty high, right up to the top of the seawalls, but not in homes, not on streets. So for us, it's been kind of hard to really see or find any major damage. I've seen some sailboats in the Gulfport area washed up on the shore because of the high tide, because of the storm surge. But visually, for damage from the air, there isn't much to see from the air.
Which could change as we get closer to Cedar Key. And we're following you, everybody. We're following Eagle 8 HD also on flight radar, and so that's also a super helpful tool. And it seems that you're coming up to Bird Creek Beach up here, Jim, and we'll let you focus on what you got to do for Eagle 8 HD, and pop on your mic at any point, Jim, if you wanted to point something out.
Yeah, I will. Hopefully this weather will hold out on us too. We had some storms up in Cedar Key Hopefully they'll blow through before we get there. But we will let you know when we get close. And then we'll check out what, yeah, we are expecting to see more actual physical damage up that way than what we've been seeing south.
And Jim, you and I, also too, your elevation, what's your elevation currently? Your altitude.
We're at about 1,000 feet right now. Hang on here, I'll show you something real quick as we're flying by. Let me punch up the nose camera. I mean, you can see there are some like homes down here, but you can tell there wasn't much wind damage at all. They might have gotten some flooding, but this was not a wind storm, at least for our area.
All right, Jim, we'll keep your channel open. Feel free to pop on the mic. Whenever you see fit, whenever you want to chime in, you are always welcome here on our live stream. So thanks for doing what you do, and have a safe flight. Also want to shout out the pilot. Who are you riding with today?
It's Steve Odell is our pilot this morning.
Steve, we appreciate you, man. All right, boys, stay safe up there, and we'll be monitoring your progress. Yep, sounds good. All right, here with meteorologist Amanda Hawley, Rebecca Barry, and we're here to just provide context. Jim was very consistent in what he said earlier with what I was talking about as we moved up through Pinellas and Hudson. It was difficult to see any storm damage from the air because a lot of storm water is receding, and again, a lot of that damage being internal to homes and homes that are going to have to get repaired or rebuilt. As we get more north here, we will likely see more from Eagle 8 HD. But even then, storm waters have been receding. Can you guys explain what we're looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, the rivers are probably going to be swollen a little bit here, but we're not talking about the water heights that we saw yesterday during that peak surge event, because the winds have died down, so the water really has been allowed to recede out back into the Gulf of Mexico. You know, swollen rivers just because of the rain that we've seen, so it's all kind of draining into the rivers and then headed out into the Gulf of Mexico. But otherwise, yeah, the winds along our coast, so what you've seen so far from Eagle, there's just not quite enough to cause too much damage. Obviously, some broken tree limbs on the ground and things like that, palm fronds, but the water damage is going to be inside, and we're not talking about fresh water either, so it's that salt water that unfortunately gets inside your home, and then you have to deal with that with the drywall, and then, you know, make sure, you know, it's dried out and not going to mold anything. So it's a long road for someone who has water damage. A lot of our inland spots might be thinking, well, yeah, that wasn't a bad storm at all. But if you live along the coast, we've seen it with our reporters up and down the coastline, and all of our counties had some sort of water rise along the coast.
I'm really worried about our insurance.
Yeah.
You know, every year when a storm comes through, it seems like more insurance companies leave the state of Florida and make it even more difficult, because when you see the devastation from the water entering these homes, they're months, if not over a year away from restoring what they had.
Yeah, so, you know, they have to move somewhere, figure that out in the meantime, and then hope that nothing else happens to the home while you're waiting on a fix for the current problem.
Get you guys an updated location here. Let's go full screen and show everybody. Jim knows that he's going to be, I know he's eyeing this water tower to give us a locator, because water towers obviously usually will have the town on them. Hey, Jim.
I believe this is Cedar Key, but we're still quite a ways away.
10-4, Jim.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the downpours that he was talking about earlier, the weather they're running into, and there is quite a few storms right over the Cedar Key point, if you will, that juts out into the Gulf. They're very slow movers.
So looking here at Eagle's flight path on flight, folks at home can follow this too. Even some people in our comment section saying that they're following on flightradar24.com. You can look up the tail number. It's N818HD. Jim, we know
That is
exactly where you are.
correct. Yeah, we use it all the time. I mean, that's how we see what other aircraft are in the area. Yeah, no, it's a great resource.
Awesome resource to be able to track Eagle's progress. Jim's smirking because he and I will be on flight radar sometimes just to monitor other air traffic in the area just for fun. I mean, we'll just do
I was
that.
going to say, I'm not going to make myself a nerd here, but I look at it just for fun at home.
Flight radar is really cool, and if you just look at a major urban area like I'm looking at flight radar right now, and there's a plane that is right to their right. It looks like a private jet is right next to them, maybe a mile or two away, but at an altitude of 36,000 feet, so way up there. They're down at about 1,000 feet.
Yeah, they're probably in the clouds. I can't see them right now.
Yeah, but flight radar is super cool because when you zoom out and you just see
all the air traffic. I think it's really
thousands of
fun
aircraft.
when, you're outside and you look up and you see an airplane, right? You can go on flight radar and click on it, and it will tell you where it took off from, where it's going most of the time, especially like commercial jets, it'll tell you. And sometimes you get planes that are coming from across the other side of the world, so I don't know, it's kind of fun.
it is fun. Jim, and I can see on flight radar 24, you are coming up on Cedar Key.
Looks like he froze there.
Oh yeah, Jim, and this is part of Jim. I don't know if you can hear us. We might have lost signal with you over the radio. We have lost signal with you, Eagle, and this is where I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to text Jim and tell him. Oh, it's trying to, and they might be trying to increase altitude to get their signal out. Let's see.
I think it's back.
Yeah, there we go.
Stream center to Eagle. Do you copy?
We can go. We're going to try to increase our altitude, see how it works.
10-4, Jim.
Yeah, we're going to move up to about 1,500 feet.
Roger that. All right, so Eagle's going to move up, and that's going to help us maintain a signal. Again, Go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, there is rain over Cedar Key right now, so that's going to hold us back for a little bit.
Okay, 10-4. Already with an increase of altitude, you can already notice that the signal is improving.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim is zooming in here, and this is, can confirm, this is Cedar Key. We're looking at one of the hardest hit areas from Hurricane Idalia. It'll be difficult until we get closer to determine what the real impacts are on the ground this Thursday, August 31st. 2023, but anything you guys want to note as we're looking here and arriving at Cedar Key for the first time?
A lot of the new buildings are, of course, built up on stilts, but it's the older construction that's not that probably saw the most damage.
And are they graded for certain categories of hurricane? They are. The homes on stilts, the newer homes, are going to be graded for...
Usually at least a category.
Right. That's what I...
Yeah, and I mean, all the building codes change anyway after Hurricane Andrew, so those have to meet those standards as well.
And if you go down to the Keys, you can really see it.
Hey, JB, just be advised, I'm turning our camera around to face away from the wind, just so we can protect it from the rain until we get through it here.
To Steve and Jim, be safe.
I have the radar pulled up on weather 3, JB.
Oh, yeah. Let's switch to it and show people what we're looking at.
The downpour that you're looking at on your screen right now
Are we
is...
talking about traffic?
Yes.
No,
Oh,
No.
okay.
weather 3.
Got it. 10-4. Bye, folks. And let's punch that up.
That's the downpour right over Cedar Key.
Look at that. So Eagle is right now, and I can tell you right in that the fringe area of the green next to the
Right
Y
here.
and
Yeah.
Cedar Key. So we'll see exactly, we'll monitor Eagle's movement, and then now we'll go back to Eagle.
Yeah, we just, this band of rain right now is coming through. It looks like it's moving to the northeast. We'll probably have to wait till that passes before we can really see anything. But we'll show you what we can.
Roger that.
I have to say it's really nice to be getting some rain, because even though we got a little bit of rain with the storm, with the downpours passing through, it just feels like they're soaking and they're a little bit more slow moving.
You know, and that's fresh water too. So that water that's falling, yes, it's more water for them, but it's washing away some of that salt water that obviously was inundating that area yesterday.
Also, just want to take, while we're still waiting to get to our coverage location of Cedar Key, just want to point out this, being able to do this, the Stream Center being able to communicate with Eagle like this in real time was done after Ian. I worked with our engineers for weeks talking about Eagle is used to communicating only with broadcast television, but to be able to pair it with streaming and being able to do things like even take comments for Eagle, doing all these things to pair the comm system on Eagle with the Stream Center was done after what we experienced with Ian last year, specifically for this exact purpose. So this is the first time that we're really trying it, and so far, so good. We are now live from Cedar Key, and we're now going to go live across all platforms. If you're just joining us here, folks, Eagle 8 HD arriving in Cedar Key, one of the areas hit hardest by Hurricane Idalia and the storm surge that we have been telling you about all week long with the Max Defender 8 weather team. I'm being joined by meteorologists Amanda Holly and Rebecca Barry. And this is an area that we had circled on the map, Rebecca and Amanda. And Eagle is experiencing some of that rain too, Amanda, that you've been monitoring on radar. So that's why the visibility here has gotten poor. And this is something that Eagle is trying to navigate around right now.
We saw the cavalry, though, in that shot before it got too rainy. All of the electrical trucks lined up.
Ready to go.
So, Eagle...
We should be coming out of the rain here shortly.
Thanks, Jim. So, also, joining us from Eagle 8 HD, photojournalist Jim Hockett. Jim works not just with Eagle 8 HD and also, too, a pilot for Drone 8. Also works with someone our stream audience knows well, Masa Saidi. He is the photojournalist who most commonly works with Masa. And so, hey Jim, I'm just going to put you on the spot. Would you rather work with Masa, or would you rather be an Eagle?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I think that there was some signal interference there.
Sometimes no answer is the answer.
I don't know if that answer.
No,
would
you
change,
guys know I love what I do.
Being an Eagle's always fun.
Oh, yeah. I'd much rather do that.
Come again, Jim?
You guys know that I love everything I do.
Yes.
Keeps it interesting.
Yep, Jim is one of the more talented photojournalists you'll ever meet, and an even better person. So, Jim, it's great to have you. Stay safe up there as you're navigating around the rain, as we are looking here live at Cedar Key, Florida, from Eagle 8 HD. And these are some of the homes that were right on the Gulf.
That dock.
Yeah,
The dock's
This
gone.
one looks like it was already under construction, so I don't think this was storm damage. This was definitely under construction. But we're going to look around. As the rain starts to clear, our visibility will get better.
Lots of dock work to be done. Everybody's missing their planks. Some of the posts survived.
Just because I think that after a rough few days, everyone here deserves some sun. Has there been sun here in the last day or so? Good.
Yeah.
It hasn't been. It's rainy right now. So
yeah, but outside of any of the rain, looks like a normal summer afternoon. It's like that dock took a hit there.
Mm-hmm.
The house on stilts, though, those typically perform pretty well with the new building codes.
So there's an example of a home on stilts. And there's a signal interruption. Jim,
That
if you've still
fence
got
there,
us.
too.
I'm still with you.
Great.
Oh, there we go.
You're back. And just checking in, reference point, what's your altitude?
I think we froze again.
Yeah, we froze again, Jim.
I'm still with you.
Okay.
We're back up.
It's cutting a little bit in and out, but you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, I think the rain's
Yep, and there's Cedar Key, the water tower for Cedar Key.
Yeah, we're hoping this rain clears out soon, and then we'll be able to really see what's going on down there.
It's fizzling, Jim, but it's slow.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I can see it.
Again, if you're just joining us here live on Tracking the Tropics on WFLA Now, we're here in the Stream Center. Meteorologists Amanda Holly, Rebecca Barry on the Max Offender Rate Weather Team joining us. They have been being just invaluable to the Tampa Bay area and the state of Florida, doing work on broadcast television on WFLA News Channel 8. But right now, we're here live with Eagle 8 HD and photojournalist Jim Hockett. And Steve Odell, pilot, who is providing us with these aerials of Cedar Key. Eagle 8 HD has spent the afternoon working its way up the Florida coast, moving north, and just arriving in one of the harder hit areas. Again, Cedar Key, Florida. This is just to the east of Keaton Beach, the National Hurricane Center's landfall location for Hurricane Idalia, a storm that made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane, peaking at Cat 4, but making a Category 3 landfall yesterday, Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. There's some rain moving through the area, and our meteorologists are telling us that the rain will fizzle out here hopefully soon, at which point we'll be able to have better visibility to show everybody what is happening on the ground right now in Cedar Key, Florida.
A series of photos just came in from Jeff Patterson. He's on the ground in Cedar Key. And so there's all the docks that are missing seem to be piled up in front of people's homes, unfortunately.
I'll try to get those loaded in here. Yeah, he's just emailing back photos. I'm going to work, if you guys can take over the mic, I'm going to work on
Absolutely.
loading in these photos.
And so we're still kind of dodging the rain as much as we can here, Eagle 8 HD, one of those fizzling showers. But what we're not seeing is the higher water levels that we saw previously when the storm was making its impact. And so it does look like most of the docks were compromised. Whenever they zoom in, you can see a couple of posts left. And every once in a while, you'll see an intact dock. But most of the time, most of them look like they have at least some damage.
It's a tough thing to secure a dock, when the waters come up above it, and then you also have that wave action with the turbulent waves. It's a tough thing to keep a dock intact with a storm like that.
And I'm not seeing the floating dock components of some of these. I'm wondering if those got loose as well. But the water's still even with a lot of those docks.
Yeah, that's because we still do have that full supermoon that we keep talking about. Or without this storm here this week, those tides would have been half a foot to a foot above normal anyway because of the supermoon that we have. That's normal. When we have a supermoon, the moon is a little bit closer to Earth in its elliptical orbit, and it definitely has an effect on our tides, higher and lower. But at high tides, they're about a half a foot to a foot above normal. And we're still seeing the effects of that in place. But the storm surge related to the storm itself, that's all receded, and we don't expect that to be an issue anymore.
And it looks like there's more of the cavalry right there. They're working on the power lines, perhaps. And they've got a tent set up, so the people are coming together. We see this after every storm. It's really the communities that build themselves back up, and other people jump in to help. The cavalry comes and helps who they can. And so looks like people are gathering by the water here, maybe taking a cruise around to see things.
Looking at the parking lot in between those buildings up there, looks like a lot of stuff's kind of piled up in there. All that brown, it's probably seaweed, it's probably dock pieces, it's just everything from the Gulf of Mexico that was shoved up inland. As the storm surge came up. Jim's kind of zooming in on all that stuff now. The parking lot just covered in, that debris. We have it here in the Tampa Bay area where the water came up. It's just how the water, the wave action pushes all of that debris
What a mess, man.
The path of least resistance.
Oh.
But yeah, messy. You know, it stinks afterward because it's salt water, it's rotting wood, it's all of that stuff. If it's over grass, it's the fertilizer that has come up off of the lawns. So it's just not a fun situation for our coastal communities to deal with after a storm like this. The storm surge, it's one thing in a weak storm that doesn't do water levels rise a foot or whatever, but when it's in the homes and the communities, it really makes for a big mess and just a long time cleanup.
How did those people's screened pool survive? It looks great.
I'm impressed.
Wow. And then there's the cavalry we were talking about, all the electrical worker trucks ready to start restoring power.
Would like to welcome in our audience now across all platforms. WFLA now is live with Tracking the Tropics and meteorologists Rebecca Barry, Amanda Holly. I'm JB Buno. We are live presently on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, WFLA.com, the WFLA app, trackingthetropics.tv, and now hello to Instagram. We're live on my Instagram page just to say hello to folks over there and share this video with you. And let's go full screen here and show you the efforts by power crews, first responders. We're going to see a lot of different crews on the ground responding to this impact area, again in the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia. Some serious damage to Florida's Big Bend, Rebecca.
Yes, we just passed two of the single-story homes, and you could see that the water just tore a wall out. Really, really devastating.
Amanda Holly, everybody, has been... What time did you get in this morning, Amanda?
It was my regular shift today. I didn't get in until 4, so that was nice. I got to sleep in today.
She means a.m.
It's 4 a.m. That's my normal time.
We had a commenter earlier ask when our meteorologists get rest. Amanda is due for some rest. Amanda, I'm going to put you on camera here, though, for any parting word. We look here as some of the damage from Idalia. I'm just going to put you up on camera here. Any parting words before you... we're kind of passing the baton off one to the other. You're going to go get some rest. But anything you're noting here from Eagle or anything you want to pass along on the stream?
Yeah, just keep in mind, folks, the stuff that you're going to see here on Eagle over the next hour or so. This is Cedar Key, and this is still a good ways away from where Category 3 Hurricane Idalia made landfall yesterday. So the strongest winds weren't even felt in this community. It was one of the areas that was hit hardest by the storm surge, but as you go up the coast along the Big Bend, there's a few more small communities that really got hit hard by the storm surge. Steinhatchee is even farther north than Cedar Key. I was just there a few weeks ago and have seen some crazy video coming out of that region and that area, those small towns. Florida, these really old Florida feel communities got hit hard just because they aren't built up with the infrastructure that our big downtown spots are now. So they definitely got hit. We're seeing it now with the visuals from Eagle here. Storm surge being the biggest impact up and down our coastline, unfortunately, and it's going to be a while before these communities do get back on their feet. We wish them all the best. Hopefully it happens sooner rather than later, but we do know that it's a slow process.
And Amanda and Rebecca, you guys can speak to really quickly, because I know Amanda's about to get out of here, but the two of you can really speak to the resilience in Florida. Now, Florida Strong is a real thing. People are still rebuilding after Ian. Other storms that have hit in years past, even Michael. We had commenters talking about after Michael hit the Panhandle, people still are working on efforts there after Michael was a devastating storm. Ian, a devastating storm.
A lot of people just say this is their home. Whatever happens, they're coming back. They're going to rebuild, and I don't blame them. We live in a great place. There's a lot of stuff to do here. But there is a price to pay sometimes when we have these storms come through. But there's price to pay everywhere you live. If you're not here and you're in the middle of the country, you have tornadoes to deal with. Over on the west coast of the United States, there's earthquakes over there. There's something everywhere.
It's give and take, but it's certainly heartbreaking to watch.
Absolutely.
I do feel a little bit of hope because the building codes are so good.
Yes.
And so if you do have to rebuild, you're probably not going to be ever looking at this situation again.
Right.
It'll be higher. It'll be stronger. You'll have to clean up that mess.
It'll withstand what Mother Nature brings.
Yes.
Amanda Holly, everybody. A big thank you to Amanda. Jim, you're hopping on here.
Yeah, just letting you guys know that we've only got a few more minutes before we need to head back for fuel, because obviously there's nowhere to get fuel up in this area. so we've got to fly back to Crystal River to get fuel again.
10-4, Jim, while we got you on that note, what is your flight plan for the remainder of the day? I mean, especially on your trip back to Tampa Bay, what is the plan for you and Steve?
I'm not really sure. That's up to Steve, but I think we're heading straight back to Tampa after this.
10-4, Jim. Thank you.
We'll get what we can until we have to leave, though.
Jim Hockett. You know, Jim's my buddy.
Yes.
That's my dude.
Yeah,
so, if he says we have fuel concerns, we got to get out of here soon, believe me, I believe it.
Yeah, you guys need to treat that with a little more caution than I do the fuel light in my car.
Yeah, it's not like your car when the fuel light comes on and you're, I got another 20 miles.
I'll do that tomorrow.
It's not like that, folks. Got to get out of there. So this is a look. I'm sure Jim will be over here for a few more minutes as far as Eagle. But you're looking here at devastation from Hurricane Idalia.
I'm wondering if they've already had some heavy equipment because there's not a lot of debris on the roadways, but we see it in giant piles. So I'm wondering if they've already cleared, because that's a really impressive, clean road, or especially around the periphery there, if they haven't already cleared it. My gut says that they got some heavy equipment in there and started clearing it.
So we're looking here at some of the various streets. Yeah, you're completely right when it comes to rebuilding is part of how the state becomes more hurricane and tropical storm resilient. Mm-hmm. It's something we've talked about on other episodes of Tracking the Tropics, especially last year in the aftermath of Ian and the rebuilding down in Southwest Florida. You know far more than I do, being a meteorologist, but these buildings are, the buildings that saw significant flooding damage, and that's another thing to point out here on stream. It's a lot of that significant flooding damage you're not going to be able to see necessarily from Eagle, but you will be able to see it when our news crews like Jeff Patterson and Joey Capistrand, when they go into these homes and they show you the water that is in a family's kitchen or a water that went into their garage. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I believe this is the area that Jeff's been reporting live from a lot. One of the little B&Bs or inns here on Cedar Key. You can see where a lot of that debris is piled up. I mean, it looks like the buildings might have survived, but there's a lot to clean up, that's for sure.
Hey, Jim, I know this is going to sound crazy, but bear with me because you know me, but there was a stop sign on the end of G Street that became a bit of an internet thing because people were very impressed by that stop sign staying up. Is that it? Wow, it's still standing.
Internet famous
Yeah,
stop sign.
it looks like a historical marker or something on the ground right behind it.
Unbelievable. This stop sign became a thing in the Tracking the Tropics comment section. It became affectionately nicknamed Stoppy, and Eric Stone had something to do with that too. And this is the G Street stop sign in Cedar Key, and we were talking about how somehow it was holding on. It was, it was leaning, but it was holding on, and it became a bit of a symbol, if anything, for people, because it was right there in all of those rising floodwaters from the storm surge, and my goodness, there it is, still there. Jim, thanks for show. Oh, and there's Jeff's Max Defender 8 storm vehicle. That's the vehicle that we were featuring quite a bit, going to the camera feeds on that particular utility vehicle all day long yesterday. It's parked there on the side of the road, and that means that Jeff and Joey Capistrand, Jeff Patterson's photographer, they're on the streets right now, probably interviewing folks, documenting this moment in time, and getting ready for their live reports on air tonight. So this is the exact area, you're right, Jim, where Jeff Patterson was reporting yesterday.
Yeah, just for people at home to know, all of these tents you see, all these SUVs, these are all network crews here covering the storm.
Wow. And that's that one cottage Jeff pointed out. Cottage 1 was completely devastated. It was the closest to the water. And
That's right.
The other one sustained quite a bit of damage. I think one of them's missing an entire wall.
Look at what a difference 24 hours makes. I mean, those waters were well past that first cottage, Rebecca, this time yesterday. And now the waters have receded significantly.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
Jamie, just letting you guys know we are going to be heading out here momentarily.
Yeah, and it was nice to see the conditions improve just enough, Jim, for this 10-minute period while we were able to get video. Again, if you're just joining us, the conditions were just gloomier with some rain in the area about 15 minutes ago, and they have clearly become clearer, if you will, and that's, of course, a good thing for us to be able to see from Eagle. Would have been such a shame if Eagle had made it all the way up here only for storms to interfere with our ability to showcase a community that is strong and resilient and will get back up on its feet.
Well, you can see, I mean, the good news from here is that most of the buildings, from what we can see, survived, at least structurally. I'm sure they have a lot of cleanup and a lot of flood damage to deal with. But this isn't like what we saw in Fort Myers Beach.
Huge, yeah, Jim, remind me, you were in Eagle a year ago, right? Weren't you the one who made the trip down to Fort Myers and we were talking?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were down there a day or two afterwards, just like today. We're coming a couple days afterwards. We were down there for about 8 hours, all up and down the coast. Sanibel, Captiva, Pine Island, Fort Myers Beach. Yeah, we covered that whole area, and it was completely devastated. Comparing to this, I don't want to overlook the damage that they're dealing with here, the flood damage that they're dealing with here, but you're not seeing the structural damage that we were seeing in Fort Myers.
Huge difference from Ian, and two different storms, Rebecca.
Absolutely.
Two different storms with two different makeups as we get a beautiful picture here of our, man, this is what a tool that we have with Eagle 8 HD also.
I do feel so lucky that we have such a great helicopter.
Yeah, and a great team with our pilots that are already on standby all the time, ready to go. Eagle 8 HD is really a big part of our operation here at WFLA, and being able to utilize it here.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, awesome. But this is for this area was a water storm, a water event more than it was a wind event like it was down south.
Absolutely.
Last year.
The wind field was so compact. The hurricane force winds were only about 50 miles across for parts of the storm, 90 miles at their peak, and so that's really, really compact. As opposed to some of the greater storms that we see where the wind field extends out hundreds of miles. And so it was tropical storm force winds for everyone, hurricane force winds for a few people, and it did impact the hurricane force winds did impact a relatively rural area, especially as it continued its path over Georgia. And we finally got out of those hurricane force winds when it crossed into South Carolina. Difference a day makes, though.
Yeah, a difference a year makes between two storms, two hurricane seasons. My God, with just the different weather patterns, too. I mean, with El Nino this year, the record sea surface temperatures that we've been talking about on Track on the Tropics all year long. I mean, yeah.
I will go as far as can I make a prediction?
Absolutely, Jim, always.
Judging by what I've seen the last 2 years in these two different areas, what I've seen in Fort Myers, even recently we were down there not long ago, is that Cedar Key will be back.
Jim, if you still got us on radio, you cut out right when you said Cedar Key, and I want you to be able to finish your prediction. You want to try? We're getting some signal interruption here. All right, looks like you're back, Jim. You got us?
You got me now?
Yeah, you broke up right at Cedar Key.
I was just going to say, I will be willing to bet that Cedar.
Right at the same point, he broke up again.
Is he teasing us?
Oh, wait. Oh. It's trying, Jim. It's breaking up. What? He set it up.
We'll be
too.
in range shortly.
Okay. Sounds good, Jim. I want you to be able to finish your point.
If you can hear me now?
Yeah, go. Wait, you're you are the Verizon commercial right now, my friend. It's can you hear me now? But why don't you try one? Let's give third time's a charm. Why don't you go for it?
No, the only thing I was going to say was I'd be willing to bet that Cedar Key will be back to normal before Fort Myers Beach will be. Fort Myers Beach still has years of recovery to go, but from what I can see on Cedar Key, their recovery is going to be a lot easier compared to Fort Myers.
That makes sense. Yeah, just structurally, so much more was catastrophically damaged down in Fort Myers Beach, where it looks like there are a couple of catastrophic failures from what we just saw on Eagle 8 HD as it flew over, but it looks more like a mess and a really big inconvenience and a lot of internal work. But I didn't see widespread missing structures like you did in Fort Myers Beach.
Yeah. This flight, Eagle's heading back now to Tampa. This flight dramatically different than what we had last year with Ian. And that's not to
it's not to downplay what happened here, definitely. Yep. We do not want to downplay it, but it's a completely different type of damage and a different type of storm, I think.
Jim, I don't think I could have put it any better. Not here to downplay it. Just and if you don't believe us, I mean, go look at the Eagle flight from last year when we were looking at some of that damage for the first time from the air after Ian. It was just and that's what happens too. I mean, look, we're talking about a storm with Ian, Rebecca, that hit a much more densely populated area versus here, where of course you have Cedar Key and you have some smaller communities there on the Big Bend, but it's a marshier area. It's not as well populated of an area of Florida.
Yes, and I also was noticing while we were looking at some of the zoomed in pictures, a lot of the people had mangroves planted in front of their seawalls, and that is so smart. Mangroves take so much energy from rising water. It's nature's battering ram. It just really removes a lot of the power of water, and so a lot of the seawalls look like they were completely intact. And I do think the planting the nature's mangroves, which is the natural tide break, is really, really smart. And I think that's something that a lot of coastal communities around Florida will probably start to take a closer look at. A study came out a couple of years ago that really detailed how much energy a mangrove can remove from a powerful wave, and so that you're not trying to absorb that energy on your seawall or on your dock or on your property. And so a lot more energy is being put into reinvigorating our mangroves, even just for that purpose.
Mangroves, they're awesome.
Yes.
So how long do they take to fully come to be?
Slow growers, and that's the problem. Really slow growers. Fish love them. It's an estuary for little baby fish to grow up in and be protected. And so they clean out the water as well. There's just nothing bad you can say about mangroves. They do block your view a little bit, but build higher. We need them.
Yep. You'll be you'll be grateful. You'll be grateful. Great to have Rebecca Barry, Jim Hockett here with us on stream. Let's get now to, hopefully this works. I just loaded up some of those new images from Jeff Patterson. Oh yeah, wow, here we go. Let's go full screen and let's take a look at this. These are shot by Jeff, and this is Cedar Key. So look at the difference from shots on the ground versus shots from the air. We were talking about how from the air the damage didn't appear to be we were comparing it, of course, to Ian and what we saw last year, but on the ground, I mean, look at some of these shots. I mean, there's a lot of debris.
So much debris, and it's terrible. And I know we all want to help, but a lot of times what the American Red Cross calls the second disaster is the wave of people trying to help in ways that hinder the recovery effort and hinder the rescue effort and hinder the rebuilding effort. Make sure if you are, going to help the Cedar Key community or any of the other communities, you're doing it in a way that's respectful of them and not just driving a whole bunch of stuff over to them, because as you can see, the last thing they need right now is stuff. They need stuff gone, not brought to them. And so make sure you're responsibly helping as you support these communities in a way that's truly helpful for them.
It's totally true. And of course, we'll see the humanitarian efforts
Yes.
that will take place, and people will be rushing in to help. Hey, I'm going to pause this one. You guys see what I see?
Is the stop sign there? Are you looking for the stop sign?
It's there. That's it.
Where is
Standing. Hold on. I'm going to see if maybe, just maybe, I can just manipulate this and zoom in. Yeah, hold on. Hold on, folks. Right. Hold on. Whoa, wait. I lost it.
Show us stopping.
Wait.
Oh, it's
There.
stopping. Wow.
There it is. The G Street stop sign is still what, as the waters were receding, as the waters were rushing in, today, it somehow is still in the ground.
Impressive.
It's this stop sign is just resilient. Just wouldn't go down.
It's like
a-
Florida. Symbolic.
It's like Florida. It just wouldn't go down. We could take some punches, but would not go down. Really cool to see. Rebecca Barry with us here in the Stream Center, and Amanda Holly. And yeah, I think so. Hey, let's just check in really quickly one more time with Eagle before we say farewell. Hey, Jim. We just punched it back up. We're going to be ending our live stream here relatively soon. Just wanted to check in with you on your flight plan, heading back to Tampa, and if you've had any conversations, and also, too, just a last check-in if you guys want to mention anything.
No, we're good right now. We are en route. We are probably going to be flying we're actually flying right past Crystal River, but we're out over the coast right now. So you're not going to be able to see much. But we're making a beeline for downtown Tampa.
All right. Well, we know that you're stopping to get fuel. Have a safe journey back to Tampa. Pass along our best to Steve, the YouTube comment section, Facebook comment section, others. Appreciate the work that you guys do, and thanks so much for helping us on stream here today.
Yeah, no problem. Good to talk to you.
All right, Jim Hockett here with us in Eagle 8 HD, and that's probably going to do it for our live stream. Rebecca, I'm going to pop the two of us up here together. What's next?
Well, for me personally, I have to do the forecast.
That's right.
But for us, what's next? The conversation that our community needs to be having is, what do we do right? Where do we have room to grow? In terms of rebuilding, it's following those building codes. Do they need to be strengthened even more so that when hurricanes are going to happen, hurricanes have been getting more powerful over the past decade. And so how can we make this less of a life-altering event? And the answer is better building codes, strengthening your home, being prepared for it, knowing more about your homeowner's insurance policy and the hurricane deductibles and the flood insurance. And so we don't need to think it's not going to happen to us. We need to have the proactive conversation. When this happens to us, how are we going to minimize the impact?
I don't know if I could have said it any better. We continue to also evolve and grow as far as how we understand how these storms develop, where they're going to go. Even some of the great episodes that Rebecca and Amanda were on earlier this year, talking about how technology, the National Hurricane Center is always learning and growing too, and using technology to gain a better understanding, various forecast models and things that they do that are advanced science to be able to understand where these storms go. And it's happening globally too, Rebecca. I think that's worth noting. I mean, of course, we talk about the Euro model all the time, the GFS model here in the United States, the incredible work by the National Hurricane Center. No one ever wants to give them credit when they get it right. They only want to blame the National Hurricane Center when they get it wrong and say, why was the track not accurate, or why was the intensity off? And this was a storm in the look, there was that westward movement but this was a storm that the National Hurricane Center in large part got right. The models were just incredibly consistent, 72 plus hours out.
Yes, and everyone was asking, is it going to turn right? Is it going to turn right? Is it going to turn right? Just like Ian did. But there was a front that helped Ian turn right. And so we just didn't see that in the forecast. We didn't see it as a reason that it would make any unexpected motions. And Jeff and I were talking about it yesterday. This storm behaved. It did what it was supposed to do. It did what was predicted. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge in Tampa Bay. This storm was very easy to predict, and it was also very fast. The fact that we have shear down across the Mid-Atlantic, from formation to impact, was one of the fastest storms. And we talked on Tracking the Tropics earlier this season that we would be prone to that this year just because of the warmer sea surface temperatures in the Gulf and right along the coastline and the massive amount of shear over our typical formation zones in the Mid-Atlantic.
If you were to cut the speed in half, miles per hour, and this goes from moving really inland at 20 miles an hour down to about 10 miles an hour, how different does Cedar Key look?
Cedar Key saw storm surge damage, so they may have had a longer duration of the flooding if it had been moving more slowly, and it may have been able to strengthen a little bit more because it had gotten up to a Category 4 status, and it was going through an eyewall replacement cycle, which temporarily brings the wind speeds down just a touch before really ramping back up. And so if it had been allowed to go through that eyewall replacement cycle and then continue to strengthen over those really, really warm sea surface temperatures, we could have been looking at a Cat 5.
Yeah. Speed is so significant. Not only could it have strengthened more to a Cat 5 over our waters in the Gulf of Mexico, and then it would have sat over some of our inland communities for longer and caused more profound flooding more inland, even into Georgia if it was a slower moving
If it had been
storm.
slower moving, the Carolinas would be in trouble today. We see massive inland flooding from tropical systems that make it into the Carolinas and then just stop, and especially the more mountainous regions, it's just terrible for the Carolinas. So the Carolinas would be in trouble today if it had been moving more slowly.
All right. Well, I want to give you an opportunity to put a bow on it, if you will. Things that we're going to learn most from Idalia going forward.
I think that we will be talking a lot in the scientific community about the rapid intensification cycle, because especially after Hurricane Andrew and the concept of rapid intensification really came to the forefront, where people went to bed and it was not a big storm and they woke up and it was a major storm over them, we thought that sea surface depth might have some more to do with it. And I think this storm really proved it was more about the warmth than the depth, because it wasn't over very deep waters in the Gulf. It was over relatively shallow waters. I think this storm will give us a better idea of how our shallow water shelf impacts how storm surge forms and how it crashes along our coastline. And I also think that in large part, this is exactly what we thought might happen this season with a stronger El Nino formation outside of typical formation zones and spin up systems right by the coast.
There's a lot to learn after every storm, including here. We lost Eagle. And that's why we get this graphic up here. We'll come back to this one where you don't have to look at the bars. I just want to take a moment to spotlight our incredible meteorologists all week long. The Max Defender 8 weather team. And I know it sounds like a plug. Take it for what it is, folks. I know it sounds like a plug, but here in the Stream Center, and I'll hit this button, I work alongside our meteorologists. You can't see it on this camera, Rebecca knows. Yeah, her desk is right there. Yep. And then the entire weather team, we share a space. So first and foremost, thanks for sharing a space with me.
Well, thanks. We enjoy having you here.
We moved in here last year.
Yeah.
Into this new space, and we share a space together. It's great for Tracking the Tropics because we can have these conversations.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. We enjoy you keeping us up to date. We know things before everyone else knows things because you're in here.
And also, too, I learn more about weather because I overhear your conversations, please understand, folks, that our meteorologists are real-time scientists documenting real-time weather events. I mean, they really are, and they bring invaluable expertise, and it's all about helping people understand how storms form in an effort to keep you safe out there. So Rebecca, Jeff, Amanda, Lee, Val, and Eric, the 6-member team, on the Max Defender 8 team just deserve a tremendous amount of credit because you guys juggled broadcast television and live streaming just tremendously well. And thank you for all that you did to keep people safe.
Oh, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. Rebecca Barry is going to, do her forecast.
Yeah, I gotta go do it.
And we're going to wrap up our live stream. Thanks so much for joining us here on Tracking the Tropics. I already gave my big spiel yesterday about how you provide feedback. Perhaps our YouTube moderators can hop in there if you wanted to send feedback our way. I won't go over the big thing again about the various emails. Really, it's just news@wfla.com if you want to pass it along to our news team here. And then if you want to reach me, heyjb@wfla.com. That's the email address. I really appreciate you joining us here on this edition of Tracking the Tropics. It streams Wednesdays, every Wednesday during hurricane season. Storm or not. Rebecca, Amanda, the team, they are talking about the tropics. They're talking about how we educate people on tropical development, tropical storm preparedness, hurricane preparedness, how science and technology is evolving. That's Wednesdays, 12:30 during hurricane season. And then, of course, we have additional coverage when storms form. There's also the podcast.
Yes.
Can we plug the podcast really quickly?
Oh, Spotify.
Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to it in the car. If you're a weather nerd, we're weather nerds.
Yeah, the quieter, when there's nothing going on in the tropics, those are the really nerdy episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Just to let you know.
I don't know what you're talking about half the time, and that's a conservative estimate. I'm like, wait, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
But weather nerds out there, the Tracking the Tropics podcast is for you. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you can listen in. There's already an entire catalog of content, and you won't hear me very much because I'm only here when storms form. Rebecca and Amanda go really into the weeds, if you will. They do a deep dive into some great weather topics with our other meteorologists from across Nexstar Nation.
And I think the hurricane hacks episodes might be particularly useful. Some of the stuff is too topical. It's what's going on right now. But we did a couple of episodes about, hurricane preparation. We all know 101, but this is 102, that next step in terms of hurricane preparation.
And not all episodes are super weather nerdy, but sometimes you guys do deep dives and they are
most of the time they are.
Really appreciate it, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Appreciate all of you watching wherever you are watching from. You can follow Rebecca Barry on her social media accounts. You can follow me on my social media accounts as well. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Tracking the Tropics, and we'll see you next time here on WFLA Now. Stay safe out, everybody.
Find Tracking the Tropics on these platforms. And for storm updates, the latest models, and helpful resources, visit trackingthetropics.tv. Thank you for watching Tracking the Tropics, powered by Bose Electric.